years, I've been collecting artifacts. As a matter of fact, I've been collecting little pencils like this. I've seen alligators on jars. I've seen alligator ashtrays, and I've seen them depicted with kids in it. And I was wondering why the children would be there. As a matter of fact, this particular pencil sharpener, this is a pencil sharpener or a pencil holder with a black head of a baby sitting out of its mouth. I didn't pay any attention. I have been collecting for quite a few years, and I have the posters and things like that about different things. And then one day I was down in Florida. I'd gone down with my wife, and I took a trip for myself off to the Wild Blue Yonder, going out to hunt artifacts. And in my quest to hunt artifacts, I came upon a pawn shop in Sanford, Florida. In the pawn shop was a gentleman who owned it. They went and got him and told him I was there, and I wanted to buy some of the shackles he had hanging around the walls. I asked him, could I buy them? He said no. He didn't want to sell anything. He just wanted me to see it. Then we began to talk. And I asked him, I said, look, please let me buy something. I got to take something from here. He says, no. He says, I don't want to sell anything. He said, but I'm going to the back and I'll sit down. Meanwhile, he came out and came back out and began to talk to me. He said, he said, you probably don't know this. He said, but years ago, he said, my grandfather, before he died, told me of the things they would do. He said he would go down. He said his grandfather said they would go down and they would take babies with them. I said, what do you mean babies? He says, well, let me tell you. He said the slaves who had babies, they would steal the babies during the course of the day, sometimes when the mothers weren't watching. I said, what do you mean babies? I said, you mean babies like 5 or 6 years old? He says, no. These babies, some would be infants, some would be a year old. He said some would be toddlers. He said they would grab these children and take them down to the swamp and leave them in pens like little chicken coops. They would go down there at night, take these babies and tie them up because they hunted the big bull alligators. These big bull alligators were not raised on farms. They were in the wild. These alligators would weigh 600, 700, 800 pounds. Those are the ones they wanted. They would skin them, make the wallets, get the meat, do different things with them. He said, but what they were doing was tie them up, put a rope around their neck and around their torso, around here, and tie it tight. He said, I said, well, what would the babies be doing? He said, well, my grandfather said they'd be screaming. He said, what would you do? He said, just let them scream. He said, what they would do, it would help them to chum the water. He said, when they would throw the babies in tied to this rope, he said, in a matter of minutes, he said, the alligators were on them. He said, the alligators would clamp his jaws on that child. As a matter of fact, once he clamped on him, he was really swallowed. You couldn't see anything but the rope. And we would pull the alligator in and tie his nose and hit him in the head with an axe, a pickaxe. He said we would then drag him to the shore. We'd drag him to the shore and leave him lay, and we would do it again, maybe 2 or 3 times a night. I said, so what do you mean? He said, well, yeah, they were taking these babies and killing them for alligator bait. I said, so all these things I've been collecting, are really, really something that I can really talk about and say they are the truth by what you say? He said, I'm telling you, he said, nobody wants to talk about it. He said, I'm only telling you because you're here. I may never hear from you again. He said, but these things actually depict the acts that they did to slave babies back in the Bayou country and down the south. They did this. They hunted alligators with these babies. That's why they call alligator bait.
Nahum, chapter 1, verse 3. The Lord is slow to anger and great in power, and will not at all acquit the wicked. The Lord hath his way in the whirlwind and in the storm, and the clouds are the dust of his feet. The so-called white man is not off the hook. All right, shalom. I want to start off by giving all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh, Bahashim, Rakakudash. I want to give double honors to our apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule well, and grace and peace to elect around the 4 winds, believing and pushing His truth in all sincerity. May the blessing of election be upon your houses. This is your fellow servant, Rakoyer from the GMS Orlando camp, and tonight's lesson is entitled, The So-Called White Man, who is Esau Edom, according to the Bible, is not off the hook. All right, tonight's lesson is inspired by the video that you've seen at the beginning of this lesson, going into how the so-called white man used to make gator bait out of our children, which is just one of the many atrocities that was committed against our nation being the nation of Israel, which today consists of you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native American Indians. Just one of the many atrocities that was documented and thrown in our face on postcards, gift cards. Just one of the many that were committed against our nation. And contrary to popular belief, the so-called white man is not going to continue to be able to ride off into the sunset with his spoils. All right, the Lord has remembered our nation. He's remembered the apple of his eye and is turning back our captivity. Thus it says, and here in Nahum 1:3 again, the Lord is slow to anger and great in power, and will not at all acquit the wicked. The so-called white man is not going to be acquitted for the crimes and the atrocities that he's committed against our nation. The Lord has remembered it. The Lord has remembered it, just as we remember. See, the so-called white man thought that the Lord was altogether one as himself because judgment wasn't executed speedily. Let's get that real quick, and we're going to jump back to this. The Lord put the so-called white man in a trick bag. This is Ecclesiastes chapter 8 and verse 11. It says, because sentence against an evil work is not executed speedily, therefore the heart of the sons of men is fully set in them to do evil. And just because the Lord didn't execute judgment speedily against the so-called white man for destroying and decimating our nation, the so-called white man got it in his head that the Lord is altogether one like himself. The Lord is with him. But he's not. The reason why we went into captivity and the reason why the so-called white man was allowed to overtake our nation is because of our disobedience, not because the Lord favored the nation of Edom. It says, because sentence against an evil work is not executed speedily, therefore the heart of the sons of men is fully set in them to do evil. Though a sinner do evil 100 times and his days be prolonged, yet surely I know it shall be well with them that fear the heavenly Father, which fear before him. But it shall not be well with the wicked. And the wicked is described as being Esau, Edom, according to the Bible. Read Malachi 1:3. They are described as the wicked. It says, but it shall not be well with the wicked, neither shall he prolong his days, which are as a shadow, because he feareth not before the heavenly Father. All right, and right now we're seeing the days of the so-called white man and his hegemony and his rulership being shortened, being numbered right before our eyes. Why? Let's go back to Nahum 1:3 again. Because the Lord is slow to anger. This is Nahum 1:3. The Lord is slow to anger. That's why judgment wasn't executed speedily against them. Because the Lord allowed him to stack up this iniquity so that he's justified in completely destroying the nation of Edom. And at the end of the day, that's your judgment. That's your judgment, so-called white man. Esau is to be completely destroyed off the face of the planet Earth. Thus saith the Bible, thus saith the Lord. After you serve 1,000 years of captivity, building up our nation, tearing down the garbage that you built in this world. It says, and will not at all acquit the wicked. All right, the wicked aren't going to receive a pardon. There's no hero coming to save Esau from his judgment. There's no bribe that the Lord is going to take to ease up the sentence that's getting ready to be proclaimed against you. The 1,000-year sentence, nigga. The Lord will not at all acquit the wicked. He remembered. All right. Let's get this. In Psalms chapter 137. And the point is in 7, but I'm going to read from verse 1. It says, by the rivers of Babylon, there we sat down, yet we wept when we remembered Zion. And this is us today. We weep when we remember Zion. Like one of the brothers in the camp, his channel name, we're homesick Israelites. We're homesick, man. Every time we remember how things should be, how the Lord propped us up in the beginning, how the Lord wanted to do our nation, how the Lord wanted to bestow the blessings in Deuteronomy 28 upon our nation, how we messed up. We weep when we remember Zion. It says, we hang our harps upon the willows in the midst thereof. For there, they that carried us away captive required of us a song. And that's what they do here, man. They require of us to be merry, to be mirthful in a land where we've been put to shame, in a land where we've been made to build and have no inheritance. A land that has taken more children, more wives, more fathers, more mothers than any other fucking nation. Here, we're required to have mirth. We're required to wake up every day and go to the plantation with a smile on our face. To be amongst the people as if nothing's wrong. To forget. To make new jingles to appease the rulers of this world. To entertain and to jest for the rulers of this world, for their entertainment and their appeasement. For they that carried us away captive required of us a song. And that's what the so-called white man does every day to our people. Hell, you ask the average young Jake what they want to be when they grow up. The short answer is a jester for the so-called white man. To entertain the elites, to entertain those of higher stature in this world. It says, and they that wasted us required of us mirth, saying, sing us one of those songs of Zion, mocking us. How shall we sing the Lord's song in a strange land? If I forget thee, O Jerusalem, let my right hand forget her cunning. If I do not remember thee, let my tongue cleave to the roof of my mouth. If I prefer not Jerusalem over my chief joy. Here's the point in verse 7. Remember, O Lord, the children of Edom in the day of Jerusalem, who said, raise it, even to the foundation thereof. O daughter of Babylon, who art to be destroyed, happy shall he be that rewardeth thee as thou hast served us. Happy shall he be that taketh and dasheth thy little ones against the stones. And that's exactly what was being explained in the video that played before this. Snatching babies, snatching children from a sucking mother. Tying ropes around their neck and their torso. Throwing them in the river and hearing them cry, watching them struggle as alligators come up and devour them so they can pull them and make boots and clothing out of it. It's fucking off, nigga. And the Lord ain't going to quit you. You're not off the fucking hook. And we're going to continue to talk about the so-called white man. We're going to continue to bring the so-called white man up because he is the fucking problem. Scripture say in Ecclesiastes or Sirach 10:10 that the Lord is coming to cut off a long disease. And the long disease has been Esau, Edom, the so-called white man. He's been a plague to the whole fucking planet. And if you got anybody telling you otherwise, we shouldn't be talking about Esau. We shouldn't be. That nigga's going off, man. The destruction of Edom, the destruction of the so-called white man is a part of the gospel. The good news that's coming to the earth. That the unrighteous ruler is no longer going to have place in this world. He's no longer going to have stake in this world. Rather, righteousness is going to take root and be allowed to flourish under the rulership of Yahweh Shai. Remember, O Lord, the children of Edom in the day of Jerusalem, who said, raise it, even to the foundation thereof. O daughter of Babylon, going to show you that it's not talking about ancient Babylon. It's talking about this new revised Babylon here in America, this new land of confusion. It says, who art to be destroyed? Happy shall he be that rewardeth thee as thou hast served us. And that's why it says here in Lamentations 4 in verse 21, it says, rejoice and be glad, O daughter of Edom, that dwellest in the land of Uz. The cup also shall pass through unto thee. All right. You're going to have to drink the same cup of slavery, of destitution, of non-assurance of life, of being swallowed up, the same cup you're going to have to drink 1,000 times stronger, though. It's going to be 1,000 proof for you, nigga. Rejoice and be glad, O daughter of Edom, that dwellest in the land of Uz. The cup also shall pass through unto thee. Thou shalt be drunken, and thou shalt make thyself naked. The punishment of thine iniquity is accomplished, O daughter of Zion. He will no longer carry thee away into captivity. He will visit thine iniquity, O daughter of Edom. He will discover thy sins. And right now, we're in the midst of the Lord discovering the so-called white man's sins. All right, counsels being made into the Inquisition is being made into the counsels of the ungodly. You know, and now everything's being brought out. Esau has made himself naked. All right, the Lord has made Esau bare. All right, he's no longer able to hide himself as this philanthropist, this entrepreneur, this benevolent character. Everybody sees him for who he is now. He's the devil. He's the plague to the earth. He's the reason why we have GMO foods. He's the reason why there's no more nutrients in fruit and plants and herbs. He's the reason why holistic cures are not available. He's the reason why your mother, your grandmother, your father are taking 20-something pills a day just to quell the symptoms of a bigger problem. He's the reason why the whole earth or the whole of America is plagued with cancer. He's the reason why new diseases are popping up. He's the reason why the air is polluted. The water is polluted. He's the reason why we drink out of plastic bottles, while our children are being taught by the alphabet community. While your children have rights over you at the age of 8 years old to change their gender. He's the fucking reason. Him. If not, where and who is he? He's the reason why the world has been driven into a world war twice, and a third time coming up. He's the reason. And the Lord ain't forgot, man. His sins are being discovered. All right. I just got one more precept and I'll close it out. It says Zechariah chapter 2 and verse 8. It says, for thus saith the Lord of hosts, after the glory hath he sent me unto the nations which spoiled you. For he that toucheth you touched the apple of his eye. And the so-called white man fucked up. You touched the apple of the Lord's eye. You know you fucked up, right? No, you know you fucked up. You fucked up. And now, through the fulfillment of prophecy and through the words of the Lord reaching the four corners of the globe in its ministry, growing, through the Spirit of the Lord, now the so-called white man is realizing this. He's realizing that he did touch the apple of the Lord's eye. He's realizing that his time is short. That's why it's getting ready to come down with great wrath. And he realizes that his kingdom is being numbered. And that he's sitting amongst the true gods, the true rulers. That his spot was only temporary. That he's not going to be able to accomplish his Godhead. You're not off the hook, nigga. Rather, you're being hung on it right now through the Spirit and power of Yahweh by Shem Yahushai. And with that being said, that's all I had to say tonight. The Lord wants to edify unto you elect. The so-called white man ain't off the hook, man. The Lord is remembered. He's remembered him and he's remembered us. And he's turning back our captivity. It's only a little while now until the Lord completely destroys his kingdom and sets up himself and his elect in his stead. Shalom. Stay up.